Hello everyone, welcome back to Motion RC. I'm James alongside Wesley, and we're here to talk about the video that you might have recently saw, a little hype video, some crashing RC planes in super slow motion. We had a lot of fun that day setting up and doing this. We know that, people never like to see planes crash on purpose, but when you're doing it for the specific reason of super slow motion footage, then, we had the opportunity to do it. Why wouldn't you do it, right, Wes?
Oh yeah.
When I told you, you weren't happy about it, but then you were happy about it once we decided to do slow-mo.
It pained me so much to do this though, because as a modeler, it's like, you spend all this time learning not to crash something, and then it's like, all right, right into a brick wall, we're gonna do it.
For sure, right? For sure. So basically want to go over, the beauty is from all the, that hype video is put together a lot. It looks like we crashed a million planes. We only crashed 2 planes. That was just, we had like 6 cameras going on the 2 crashes. We wanted to, the goals here were, obviously we wanted that crash test dummies side profile shot. So we had the opportunity to rent a camera that did about 1,500 frames per second. Obviously there are slow motion channels on YouTube. They have 6-figure cameras that do 20,000 frames per second. I would love to have been able to pay for one of those. Maybe in the future, we'll see how this one works. I would love to see it even slower. But, the ability to rent that camera, so we set that up. That was the main camera on the side shot. But the first thing we had to do was just figure out how we're going to do this. So thanks so much to Rich Baker, because he has that new private field and he let us, we were completely free from any restrictions that a club would offer, things like that. We were just able to basically build a quick little cinder block wall. It was about 5 feet by 5 feet, I think, Wes, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
And and that was a challenge in of itself, because we bought about 48. They were 16-inch by 8-inch by 8-inch bricks. I wanted the biggest cinder blocks so we had less to move around. And then we had initially bought just sand, because when you lay your cinder blocks down sideways, you got holes. So we thought, fill them with sand, that should be enough. But we immediately, upon building it, realized you could push this thing over with ease. So we didn't want the planes to go through the cinder blocks and knock it over and have to build it back up each time. So we had to leave the field, run. What did we buy? We bought 10-foot conduit?
We bought 10-foot, half-inch EMT conduit, and we put that every other hole. And then we bought 2 sheets of half-inch plywood, and we put those in the back, one up against it, and then we screwed the other one in like an A, and then we shoved a couple furring strips in there too to just secure it up. And man, it made it strong, very strong.
Yeah, once we did that, it was, then it was secure. And then the decision on the planes were just, we figured, let's take planes we've already crashed before. So the first one that we flew, and we'll go over that in a second, was the ME262. That's a free-wing ME262 that I had crashed at a show. I nosed it, and just, it was all sorts of messed up. So I fixed it myself, I painted it, and then I put that weird tank turret on the front of it, because I'd seen a picture. It was a real-life thing when the Allied forces, I think right at the end of the war, they had a 262, captured, and they were testing that type of thing. Like there was a real version of it, I'm forgetting the name of it, but they put like a tank cannon on it, and they never flew it, but there are pictures of it. Obviously the livery wasn't, I don't think there were roundels on it the way mine was, but the thing was so messed up. It looked good enough to make a video of, which we did a long time ago, but it looked far from good up close. So I had no problem, and it was the old power system, so no problem sending that one to the, to
final
the
resting place,
to its final destination. And then just for dexterity, we wanted to do a foam aircraft, see how that crunches against the wall. And then we said, we got to see a balsa one, and that's the most disturbing one. It's sad to like crash a balsa plane on purpose, but that Nexa P40, I built it. I didn't build it the best, and then I had already crashed it on my maiden flight. I blew out the gear, so I had to do a bad job fixing it up anyway, so it wasn't perfect. It looked good from far, but again, another one that's far from good. So we decided that one was the right size. It was about the same wingspan as the ME262, so we thought that was a good juxtaposition, and also we wanted a prop versus a jet to see that to see the prop in slow motion going right into the wall. So we'll get to the P40 in a second because that was just as cool a shot. But all around, we had a lot of fun doing it. And the beauty is we only had to do 2 planes because we had about 2 more ready to go just in case. Because the biggest concern, right, was that Wes, you might miss. What if Wes misses?
You never know.
If
and it was super windy.
It was super windy, yep, but we needed the sunlight. That was the sunniest day we had with that camera because a slow motion camera without full sun, it's just never going to look right. It's going to look really dark. You need the full sun, so we said we'll sacrifice the perfect wind day for the perfect sun day that we had, and that was the day. But yeah, the biggest thing was, even though the wall is 5 or 6 feet wide by about 5 feet high, it's still a hard target to hit. Like, we lined it up on that field and gave Wes, because you stood about 50 yards from it, like in front of it, and you were flying like side to side, but you were trying to line it up on a point that was straight ahead of the target and then keep it on that line. And when you got crosswinds going and the nerves racking, like, my biggest concern was like, I hope he doesn't just like side-swipe it, miss it, destroy the plane anyway, and we don't get the shot. That was the main concern with it. But you did a heck of a job.
I just lined it up, so when we did it, we set it up right to the edge of the runway. And so I knew if I flew right down the grass where it was mowed versus not mowed, I'd be right in line with the wall. And that's how I did it. And I stood far enough down that so once it went past me, I got the sight line of it in my peripheral. Then I could see the wall to just line up on. And it worked pretty good. Like I said, the wind kind of bops the airplane around. I think you can see it as it goes by me kind of doing that. And I was just staying as laser focused as I could to keep it in there until I heard James, and I knew I had done it right.
All right, so the main slow motion shot of the 262, so this was awesome because we had to hit the record button about when you were in line, to get it to line up. But I'm just playing it through at the natural speed that it came in at. And man, when you freeze frame it on the initial crunch, you see the tube, the tank cannon actually pushes back into the fuselage. Like, I assumed that was just gonna snap off, but because that was a 3D printed tank cannon that I had on there, but I reinforced it with like a wooden stick through it was hollow. So I have a wood stick through it, and you could actually see it push back into the fuselage. It pops the canopy off. And the best thing about this shot, what I love, obviously,
his little head,
the foam crunching, but when you watch it in slow-mo, you could pick out just one part and follow it. You could re-watch this over and over again, but like, I'm gonna point out his head right there. That is the pilot's head. The poor German pilot. I had a complete decapitation through the head. We got a full servo, which I think was an aileron servo.
Yeah, I love it. It's just flying with the little wire just coming off of it. It's
Lori picked that thing up and held it. It looked like it would work. If you just put a new horn on it and move it through. And then just the foam snow of it all was pretty incredible. But
another thing that's really cool to me is if you watch it, as it bounces back, the fans are still spinning and it's blowing chunks of foam out of the fans as it comes out of there too. That was something I noticed that always cracks me up. So right as it bounces out of the wall, foam is flying out of the EDF units. Right?
Oh yeah, there you go, look at that.
There.
The fans, wow, I missed that part. That's another cool thing. So the foam comes out of the fans, that's awesome. And that was the other thing that was crazy. On both these crashes, because these are both electric powered aircraft, I can't believe we had fire hydrants. We had fire extinguishers ready and accessible, ready to go, because we were expecting a lipo fire. Expected a lipo to either explode or just get that. Both of those Admiral lipos were crushed beyond annihilation, and neither one of them blew up. They were just...
the ME-262 one, it literally was a perfect, it unfurled like a banana. It was just like, you could tell it just exploded into the wall. And yeah, it did not catch on fire. I've got them in a bucket of sand outside right now. But
you could see it like right here, just flying completely unattached, but it's just flopping around. Yeah, it's filleted like a fish. but it survived. It was really, really interesting to me. Like, I thought those were gonna, especially because they're in the nose of the aircraft, it's taken the brunt of the force. You know, that battery took the majority of the hit. And just overall, like, were you expecting more or less destruction, or is that about what you expected?
I expected there to be about that much destruction, but I was surprised, like you said, about the battery not exploding. And I mean, there was still, even like the nose gear after the fact. I mean, the nose gear, if you see it in this, the wheel explodes in half as it comes off the wall. That's the other cool thing I saw here. The wheel separates from the rim and the strut is coming apart in multiple pieces. I mean, there is a ton of force going into hitting that wall like that. And that's the stuff you can pick out in this ultra slow motion that you'd never be able to see, you know? It's just crazy.
It is crazy. And it's one of those things, too, when you're flying, like, you realize you'd get hurt by a foam aircraft, but, like, hearing the thud like that, because you don't...
Oh, my gosh.
Because most crashes, yeah, I mean, I guess you can thud it into the ground, but usually, like, you skim off the ground or you hit branches, and it sounds like you're never really... Most RC guys are never going to fly straight into something the way we just did, you know? Like...
Great.
And when you hear that thud from the other cameras, because we had, what, 3 main cameras focus on him. A couple were in more slow-mo. We had a GoPro underneath and using slow-mo. But we had one set up to just get the live shot. We had a few of them to hear the sound. And when you hear the boom, boom off the wall each time was just, wow, what a thud.
Mm-hmm.
That plane had to be going, what, it does at least 120, I would say.
Yeah, it was probably 110, 120 something.
110,
I was full throttle, right out of a dive, leveled out. I mean, it was all it could go right then.
It was so much fun. It really was.
I love the piece that stuck to the wall too. It hit and it left like a piece of foam embedded into the wall, which was hilarious to me too.
So now, let's move over to the P40, because that's our balsa bird.
Okay.
Now, much heavier. It's got to be double the weight, I would think, of the ME-262. Yeah. And
much heavier, much more solid.
Much more solid. And you have the big,
and you've got that big metal motor up on the nose, too.
I think it had the Admiral GP26 in it, I believe.
Yep.
Would be the one that I put in that model. So,
yep.
The only thing about that, when we go let's go right to the main shot. Now, the only thing that stunk was, for whatever reason, if you watch from the shot, Wes, when you're flying in, either the crosswind gets you and the plane just raised up at the last second and hit the top of the wall, so missed the target, but still hit the target. But for our main shot, it comes in a little high, but you still get the brunt of the action, which is all we really wanted. Here we go. So as you're coming in off the top, so now you have that big metal can. When that smashes the brick, we were not expecting, I don't know, I guess I should have expected it, but you completely destroyed the cinder block that this plane hit. It broke through, and it broke through the back of the cinder block, which was crazy. And since we had a lot of these cinder blocks filled with sand, you see the sand start pouring out.
Running out.
In slow motion.
It's so great.
But you know what's interesting? You could tell wood doesn't bounce the same way as foam does, because the foam aircraft bounced clean out of the shot. Whereas this was the same shot, we never moved the camera, and the balsa plane barely bounces off. It just like hugs the wall, and all the destruction stays right in front of the wall, and then it just gets sand poured on top of it like its own burial. It set up its own burial.
I tell you, one of the craziest things to me is when it hits the wall, the wing actually splits like a banana, just like the battery did.
Yeah, top to bottom.
And this was something that was way different to me. Like the wing actually goes like that and splits completely open. When we picked it up after the fact, I was like, wow, that is an immense amount of force. And I mean, look, when it hits the wall, you can even see the flap flies open. It's so hard, it strips that servo, the flap flies open. I mean, it's crazy watching that in slow motion.
Looking at it now, I remember how poorly I did that Jaws decal. Like, the mouth was so hard to get around that cowl. I had to cut it. It looked so bad up close. Looked great from far away, but it looked so bad up close. But look, I don't even think are the retracts still in the model? Yes, I think they might be.
Yes.
But wow.
But they are not working anymore, probably.
But yeah, you
'cause
don't
the front
see
half
any.
of that is destroyed.
No foot, like no plane pieces go to the right side of that frame, which is crazy. The more and more you like look at it, like this one has actually less action happening around. But if you freeze it like right after the wall, you can see the battery right there because that would have taken the brunt. So now think about this battery. I expect it to blow up because you got the big metal motor hitting first. That's what probably takes out the brick wall. And then that's pushing into the battery, which is right behind it. And I'm shocked that this battery didn't go up and combust. And the thing is too, these were fully charged packs and you only did maybe 1 or 2 passes to test. And then you went right for it. Like once you're like, all right, I got my line, I'm going for it. And this was the one we were most concerned because we only had 1 balsa model. We were only willing to risk 1 balsa model for this. So you had to hit this one. When this hits in full throttle from the back shot, like you see the whole wall flex. This one flexed because the top of the wall had less support, I guess, than the bottom. So you flex the whole top of the wall. And it just looks so good. So a lot of the other slow motion shots you're seeing will be about 240 frames per second. That's what about your standard slow motion now on most cameras and cell phones could get you about 240. But just the overall carnage of it all. And the beauty is, again, it looked like a lot of crashes and a lot of people like, oh, how could it was 2 planes. And, you know, they weren't perfect to begin with. So we were happy to, in essence, do this for science, if you will. So it was kind of cool to see. I've never seen it with an RC plane before. So just to see that construction and how, you know, how they're made and how they can hold up to a cinder block wall. But maybe we do it again. That's the other thing, guys. We want to see more. Yeah. We love having fun with RC. It doesn't always have to be crazy destruction. But we're always more than happy to set up some fun things. We have some fun ideas, because if we can get our hands on the slow motion camera or even other things, let us know. If you want to see more things crash, you got crazier ideas that you could see for us, we'd love to do maybe one of these a month where we just go out there and throw care to the wind a bit and, you know, have a little fun doing some things. You know, aside from just your standard, you know, reviews and flights and drives and things like that. You know, this is always fun for us to do just as videographers / RC fans, enthusiasts. You know, I watch every crash video I see anyway, because it's always, you know, you can't kick your eyes off of it. But to see it and to see both of these, to get those shots, we've never, you know, I know from my standpoint, I've never worked with a camera like that before. I know Alex hasn't, so it was really cool for us to just experience that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have fun with it. Look at it a bunch of times, because every time you look at those shots, those slow motion shots, you'll pick out something different that you missed. Just follow one piece and follow it through the whole, you know, its whole lifespan there from the time it hits the wall to out, and you'll get some enjoyment out of it for sure. Wes, any parting words for this video, my man?
Well, no, I mean, it was just a great time. I was glad we had you guys down and got to destroy some stuff. It was a lot of fun. I have always dreamt of doing this exact same thing, just like James has, seeing an airplane actually hit a brick wall in slow motion. I mean, it's just like when you watch the car crashes that they're doing the test things. Everybody wants to watch those, getting to see something destroyed. Here it is again. We did it, so you don't have to.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, though.
And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching Motion RC. And as Wesley always says,
whether it's land, sea, or air, Motion RC has everything you want. See you in the next video, guys.
Bye, guys.